So today we're talking marriage. Is marriage an outdated concept? First topic. That's what we're starting with. Let's start with you, John.
Oh, okay, yay. Yes and no. I feel like
there she is.
I feel like marriage is hello.
Kristen, what's going on? Welcome to the panel.
Yep. I'm a little late. I apologize.
That's all right.
I'm
That's
also
all right.
an awkward human being, so I will just warn everyone that now. Yeah.
You're
all
not
right.
alone.
It's all right.
It's okay.
Okay. John, you could start. Marriage is an outdated concept. What are your thoughts when you hear that phrase?
I think the concept is still solid. It's that it depends if you're a man or a woman. Let's be honest. For men, marriage is kind of only a negative thing in that as a man, you could, have a great job, be living a great life, and marry a woman and not realize that she's not what you're looking for, and end up in a lot of trouble a couple of years down the line when, half of your stuff now belongs to her and you can't do anything about it. At the same time, the concept of marriage is wonderful because it's two people saying, like, I commit to you. This is it. I've decided that this is how I'm going to live my life. We're going to make it work. We're going to be partners. So the core of it, I think, is super important. It's just gotten to a point now within our society that it's not the smartest move unless you really know who you're going into it with. There's been horror stories. I'm being brutally honest.
I see a lot of cringing faces. We'll go to the first cringing face.
if both partners are on the level and honest, I think it's a great thing. It's just that doesn't always happen.
All right. That was interesting. All right. Aaron, marriage is an outdated concept. What's your thought?
I kind of agree with John in terms of yes and no. In my personal opinion, I don't want it to be, but when you look around and see other, married or divorced couples, it's kind of hard to believe that it's not outdated. But it takes a lot of work, and I feel like I'm not really sure what's going on in the world, but there's a lot going on between men and women that, I guess there's a lot of options out there, and people just don't want to be in that commitment.
Okay. Rondell?
When we speak about that topic, I think it comes down to just one's perspective, really, like what's your perception of it. I think a lot of the people that are living in this society that we're living in currently just have an idea in their head of what something's supposed to be like versus what you're actually experiencing. I don't think it's outdated, depending on if you have the right combination. You know what I'm saying? I think it comes down to chemistry, self-awareness, and just like John has said earlier, knowing who you're getting involved with, because at the end of the day, everyone has their own intentions, you know what I mean? And a lot of people I know in 2021 don't want to feel vulnerable. I know me personally, so that's one of the hardest things to deal with, being vulnerable, being open to a partner. So I honestly don't think it's outdated, but like everyone said, just, it's getting tougher.
Yeah.
I see.
Kristen, bring us home. Marriage is an outdated concept.
I think it's a very complicated answer. Because at the end of the day, marriage originally was, to sell land and merge families and whatnot. And then when you come to it now, I think it's started to turn into more to like a means to an end. You see people nowadays like getting married that are platonic so that they can share health insurance and if they kids and stuff like that. But I think at the end of the day, like when I think about marriage, like John said it like, oh, it's about that commitment and sharing that commitment. But why do you need a piece of paper to say, hey, yeah, like I want to be with you for the rest of my life? So that's where it kind of gets complicated and kind of like I feel like, one day, yeah, maybe I would like to have a family. If I want to have a family, then I want to have a marriage because I think that's important to be together. So like, and then, but also health insurance. I would definitely, if one of my friends needed to be on health insurance and like they really needed it, I would. So I think the
Wait a
old
minute, hold on, wait.
the old definition.
You had me until you said that. What
The
did
old
you say?
definition.
No, I
So
wouldn't
like
do that.
I've seen like friendship, like I don't know if you've seen it recently, like people are getting into platonic marriages because they need health insurance, because not a lot of people nowadays have health insurance, so they are strictly platonic friends but like getting married. So like the definition of the original definition of marriage, I believe, is outdated because now it's kind of coming into its own, and it's different things, whether you're getting like making a family together, or you're trying to be better, like get the benefits that not everyone can get. So like I don't know, it's complicated.
The plot of I now pronounce you Chuck and Larry is what you're talking about.
Oh shit, I forgot that movie existed.
Yep.
Yes, it does. Yeah, you are. Yep. So
Okay, all right. So that was an interesting way to bring it home, but you'll still get some DJ horns for that. All right. Next question. Is there a shortage of marriageable men and women? Aaron?
That's kind of like question number one.
I wanted to flip it around on you guys.
Yeah. Is there a shortage? I don't know if I would necessarily call it that word, but I just think that, God, I don't even know. I just think that there are a lot of, people that just don't want to make that commitment. Marriage is work. I know some people say that, oh, if you're really in love, that it shouldn't be work. But I think when it comes down to it, it's work. And I think a lot of people don't want to put that effort in. So,
yes.
I guess, yeah.
I know it doesn't sound nice when you hear shortage.
Yeah.
But that's why I put that there.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's not nice, but it's reality.
Exactly. Yeah.
Rondell.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and say I do believe there's a shortage. Definitely because it's getting crazy out here. I mean, social media isn't making it any easier for people to want to have a commitment, want to respect themselves. I feel like with marriage, in the olden days, there's a lot of principle. Like people stood on principle and stood on, integrity and things like that. And I feel like in today's age, that shit is like, to do that is to be weird or to be square. It's just the norms are changing. So I truly do believe there is becoming a shortage. I mean, the younger you go down as far as the generation, like, on other things, like they're not thinking about marriage, they're thinking about trying to get a bag, trying to, milk whoever they can milk, get to wherever they can get to as fast as they can get to it. You know what I mean? Like, based on just like what I've known marriage to be versus what I see today, yeah, I'm sure
There's a shortage. Kristen?
I'm actually gonna say no.
Ooh,
I
okay.
don't. I think
Going against the grain. Let's hear it. Let's hear it.
So I don't think that there's a shortage, but more honesty, because I feel like you kind of got trapped in marriages. If you look back in old times, someone got pregnant, you couldn't date. It wasn't like dating wasn't really dating. You went on a few dates and then you got married. Like it was very quick, and I feel like that's also why the divorces, started go up, because women also start to get more rights. They're able to get a divorce and able to hold their own job. So when I say no, I think that it has stayed the same, but people have been more honest about what they want and say, yeah, no, I don't want to get married, instead of, yeah, I have to get married. So, and I feel like it's just, rather than having a lot of, the divorce rate is still up too,
Divorce
but
rates are still
also,
up.
yeah, but also I still feel like, it's just a bunch of more people being honest, yeah, marriage is not the thing for me, rather than going back and being like, all right, I guess I kind of have to. So I don't think there's a shortage in a sense. I guess kind of there is, because less people are doing it, but doing it against their will. So I think that just the marriages that I have seen, people my age, they're happier, because they actually want to do it. I don't have a lot of friends that are married, but the ones that are, they're doing well. So I don't know. No and yes, I guess, is kind of how I end that.
Wow. You were doing good, and then you sat on the fence at the end. Why?
only because in a sense, there is a shortage of people faking the fact that they want to get married just to have a means to an end. So there is less of that, but at the end of the day, no, there isn't a shortage, because then you wouldn't you would just be trapped in a loveless marriage. So yeah. So
Okay. All right, John, what do you think?
It depends. It depends on what you're looking for. I mean, if you're a traditionalist,
You're starting on the fence. You're starting on the fence, bro.
No. It really depends, and it depends if you're a man or a woman. Generally, men would, when they think of marriage, think of the traditional definition of marriage. So that's what they expect, because that's what they've been taught their whole lives. That you find a good woman, you marry her, you have kids, you be a good guy, you don't cheat on her, you don't stray, you stay with her till you die. And then you've got societal changes in the last 60 years, especially in the last 20. I feel like they've been ramping up in our generation, which has caused women's perspective of marriage to be skewed to, one, be kind of negative, the traditional idea of marriage to be negative, and two, women have more freedoms, so they want more freedoms in the long run. And if you don't take into account that when talking to the opposite sex,
I love it.
I agree with that. I think women are more traditional, and
You
men.
think so?
Yeah, I do.
You believe that this modern women nowadays are far more traditional than men?
Now that you put it in that perspective, I am, so I can't really speak for
Wow.
women.
I mean, come on.
But
We can't say you make up the
There's definitely women out there.
I think the percentage of there's a higher percentage of women who are more traditional than men that are still more traditional.
Really?
Yeah, not to say that both of them have not gone down.
Both of them, I think we're all on the same page when we say both have plummeted.
Yes.
Both definitely both have plummeted.
Okay.
But I think there's a little bit more of women that are more traditional than men.
See,
I don't know.
That's opposite to my experience, but I don't have a lot of female friends, So of just the women that I've encountered, I've noticed that less of them think of marriage in a traditional sense. So I've amended my statement. I apologize.
Stand to your ground, man.
Hey, I'm saying from my experience, men are more traditional, or traditionally minded.
Rondell, you were about to say something?
I would like to meet those men.
Hi.
You know what I mean? Encountered a lot of
Speak
women.
up a little bit.
I said, I know a lot of women, encountered a lot of women. I got a lot of sisters, and I know for a fact that women, they tend to be more traditional than men, and that's just off of my experience. They're the ones who want the marriage. They wanna, have the structure. They want to do the festive things. They want to have the holidays. They want to
Would you consider that traditional, or just that they want the marriage? Because wanting a marriage and being prepared for marriage is two different things. Would you say?
I agree for sure. But I'm saying, as far as we're talking about tradition,
okay,
you think about it. Tradition goes: a man is a protector, a man is supposed to be in the household, a woman is supposed to, take care,
the nurturer,
and nurture, exactly. And I mean, even today, there's a lot of craziness going on. I see a lot of women doing a lot of crazy things, but when it comes down to it, I think you can't argue with nature. I think it's in a woman's nature to want to be that. Yes, granted, a lot of women's natural instincts are skewed due to what they're seeing and how they're influenced on social media nowadays. But I think at the core of it, men, me, my own personal experience, I care less about certain things. But I'm keeping 100 with you. Marriage, I always told myself I was never getting married. Didn't believe in it. It just wasn't I've seen my brother go through it and seen what he went through. I'm nah, I'm good. The only way I'm getting married is if I always said this to myself. The only way I was getting married is on that wedding day, when we're saying our vows. There's no doubt in my mind that I know what this person is capable of.
This was the right choice.
Negatives as well as positives. I know what could potentially occur, and I'm okay with that, and I could live with that because I know that that's, in the grand scheme of things, it's smaller than the big picture. That makes sense.
No, that makes sense. That makes sense. Okay, so before the next question, I want to preface it with this video, okay? Actually, before that, I actually wanted to say something. Here's what I believe kind of screwed up the market a little bit. The internet. And a lot of people now have far more options because it's right in front of them. Back in the day, there was a little bit more of an incentive to stay with that person, to actually try to work it out. But now, when there is so much ease of access to who you can actually see right there on your phone in your pocket every single day, it's very easy to say, I'm not going to stick it out with this person. There's, the grass is green on the other side. That's my thought process on it. I think, no?
Freedom of choice. You're saying that.
Yeah. There's
more options equals more complexity. Yeah, totally, man.
With the more people that have options, the more options you have, the less people can actually make a better choice for themselves.
I think you're saying the more options you have, the less satisfied you are with your choice.
Correct. Yes.
All
right.
Yeah, that's
Rondell,
agreement across the board.
That's the GOAT himself, Anton Daniels, who we are about to watch right now. All right. Hold on a second, people. Give me a second. We got to build it while we fly it. All right. Chrome tab. Okay. So, bottom left, Anton Daniels. We are going to listen to him and then hear the next question.
Thing that people
and then we'll
also
rock.
have to realize is that even beyond the love, marriage is a business. The whole idea of getting married and signing a contract means that you're in the business of being married. So when you start to think about all of the factors or all of the ways in which we're supposed to identify and highlight what marriage is, we would start to approach it differently, and then we would get different results because we'd understand that when you start to leverage the benefits of it and look at it from a business perspective and not just look at it from a love perspective, because everybody looks at it like cheating, love, how do I feel, all of that other type of stuff.
Yeah.
When you start to factor in all of the other things that goes into it, usually people that raise their kids in two-parent households have a better chance of raising kids that will be much more successful than kids that are raised in single-parent households.
Right.
When you talk about all of the financial benefits that goes along with being married, when you talk about having somebody to have your back, because two people are usually better than one in every situation. You also factor in the idea that you can move and operate with somebody that has your best interest at heart 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, when you're doing it the right way and when you're communicating effectively, you'll start to see the benefits of marriage differently. And when I talk to guys and they say, well, I don't see the benefit of marriage, that's because they're going into it with a glass half empty mentality, and that they don't understand how it will work for them, instead of going into it from the perspective of how can it work for me. Then you're looking for the benefits that come along with it. So most people that get married are getting married for the wrong reasons. And that's why you see people always leading into it with how they look, how they act, all of this other type of stuff, instead of the things that actually should be the foundation of the marriage, such as friendship, spirituality, business interests, and then love comes along with it, especially when you factor in having kids, because you'll usually do things outside of how you feel and what's in the best interest of the group when you start to look at things not just from a love perspective, but also the business of marriage. And I know people don't like to talk about it, but the reality is that people that are married are usually way more successful. And you're going to have the anomalies. You're going to have the people that is in a toxic relationship and the kids suffer because the dad is beating up on the woman and all of this other type of stuff. But realistically, people that are in it for the right reasons and understand the idea behind marriage will be much more successful and wind up not getting divorced when they really factor it in and take it to heart exactly what it means, and even align themselves with the idea of what they say in their vows, till death do us part. Like, people just...
All right. That's my guy, Anton Daniels, right there. Spin bars. Always love what he says. Man preaches. But on to the next question. Well, actually, let's get that off the screen first. Oh my God. How do I get that off the screen? Still learning, people. Still learning. All right. Next one. Love is the most important thing when you are looking for a spouse. Kristen?
I don't think love. I think communication is the most important thing.
Communication?
Like,
okay.
open and honest. Love can do a lot for you, but love is just not enough. You know, when you have communication, I think, you know, you can talk about your wants, your needs, what you need to see in a relationship, and what you're willing to give. And if you don't have, like, you know, I can love someone to, like, you know, love is blind sometimes. I can love someone as much as I want, but it without communication, you're not fixing anything. So I think that, like, open, honest communication is the most important thing in looking for a spouse, someone you're able to talk to and communicate with.
John?
What is the saying? Love won't pay the bills.
That's not it.
Man.
Let's be honest. It's an incredibly important part of a relationship, but if you can love somebody to death, but if you can't get along with them, if you argue all the time, if you can't figure out your finances, if you can't figure out your living situation, if you can't designate household chores between each other, you're going to be miserable. There has to be, like the names are gone, and I'm terrible at names, but like the woman who just spoke before me said, communication is key. Honesty is huge. And if you can't get that down, it doesn't matter how much you love each other.
Okay.
Kristen, thank you for putting these.
Aaron?
I think, honestly, friendship is number one.
Friendship?
I think, yes. I think friendship.
Even after watching that video. Even after watching the GOAT himself.
Yeah, I mean, he did mention friendship. And I think, you know, once you have friendship, once you trust and, you know, really care about that person, the communication and everything just kind of follows.
Okay. Rondell?
Yeah, based off of, well, after watching that video and after hearing what everyone's saying, I think if you understand your vision of where you're trying to go and how your spouse complements you, I think seeing the vision within your spouse is the most important, because loving someone, like you guys have said earlier, you know, you can cut corners, you can give them leeway, but over time that compounds, and eventually it kind of changes who you are internally. This is based on experience. So I think seeing the potential in your spouse or your partner and seeing how you can help build them up is the most important.
Okay. I think love has nothing to do with it. What's love got to do with it? All right. They made a song out of it. What's love got to do with it? All right. That's me personally. But
let's be honest, though, that was a really coked up lady. So
she knew exactly what she was talking about, though. She made it up there, far higher than any of us on this panel. So she might have had something. She might have something right. All right. Okay. Now we're going to get into a little bit of the heavy hitters. All right. Is divorce due to infidelity an option when you have children? Rondell, you want to start this one off?
I don't think so, honestly. I really don't think so, personally. Simply because if you're seeing, like I said, if you have a vision within your spouse or your partner and you see where you can take it, granted, yes, everyone wants to have kids. Everyone wants to have kids, but I've been adopted myself. And just through my journey, I don't truly believe that being blood related has anything to do with the outcome of a child, as far as how you raise a child. I don't think that could ever be an option, especially if you've already dedicated yourself to the family. Now, granted, if you find out, like, if there was a tragic event that occurred while being married and they end up not being able to have kids, then, I mean, obviously that's a different story, but I think, you just said love has nothing to do with it, but if you love the person, like, that shouldn't, because you understand that life throws curveballs, and that's just how it goes.
Okay. Kristen?
Well, okay. So is divorce due to infidelity? I think divorce is due to a lot of things. Like I don't
No.
think
This divorce in this case due to infidelity.
is
An
an
option.
when you
Yeah.
have children.
Yeah.
No.
No.
I am. God forbid someone decides to have a child with me. You're stuck with me until that child is 18. We are going to co-parent. I don't care if we need 2 separate bedrooms. But as you, Anton, right? That was the guy's name?
Anton Daniels.
Yeah. Having 2 parents, I also have a bachelor's degree in psychology. Having 2 parents has a profound effect on a child's psychology and like how well they're going to do in life. And so co-parenting like is a thing. I don't care if if it got to the point where me and my significant other decided that we didn't want to be with each other anymore, in that house we would co-parent, we would be friendly. You want to go be with someone else, you do that at a hotel room. That child is 18, and then you can figure out what else you want to do. But in that house with that child, we are going to be the best parents. We're going to agree on things. We're going to be able to talk about things and make sure things are right. Divorce can happen after not that 18 all of a sudden the kids all perfect, but at least they're an adult now that they can make decisions and figure things out for themselves. And hopefully you gave them a good enough grasp on life that now you and your significant other can go have a life separately or together, or however you end up wanting to do it. But I do not think that divorce or like separation should be a thing when you have children, with the exception of abuse and things like that, and like manipulation and things like that. Like if it's a toxic household, that's a different story. But if you're able to communicate and be like, hey, what's best for our kid, then I don't think so at all. There's way too many benefits staying together.
I wish I had a clapping, but I don't. So I'll just standing this one for that one. I agree. I 100% agree with that. 100%. But that's my own personal thought. The host can't weigh in on this. John, hop on that.
100%. Yes. If there's infidelity going on in a marriage and that you've broken the trust, you're gonna have. My parents got separated when I was 9 or 10, I know my dad was not faithful to my mom, and they fought constantly. And being a kid and growing up around two adults and not understanding why they're fighting, but having to listen to them fight every night is incredibly damaging to a child's psyche, because they're the ones who are supposed to have the answers. And if they can't figure something out, what's the world going to be like for you? You know what I mean? So at that point, it's better to have like a mutual split that is civil. You know what I mean? Because it's better to have two parents separate that love you and get along because they don't have to be around each other because now their relationship has failed, versus two parents who constantly fight and can't get their shit together. You know what I mean? Now,
Yeah.
if those parents can get through that and work through that and communicate and figure it out, sure. But I am not the guy that can, you know.
Kristen, you're about to say something?
Yeah, I want to add, because I also saw like some of the comments, and I agree. Like like I said, if it's a toxic household where like people are fighting, I would hope that people. So my co-parenting thing is like, you can be together in that house. You know, you can come to an understanding in which the parents can have separate love lives that the children don't know about and stuff like that, so you're able to still continue your life, but you can come together and be parents for that kid. That is like the healthiest thing, that like, with again communication, which hopefully my hope is that you were able to have these conversations before you had the kids, to make sure that this is something that you guys can agree to like beforehand and hopefully keep afterwards. If there's constant fighting in the household, no, I obviously that is much worse. I'm from a troubled household as well, so like that's
Yep.
obviously not what I'm saying,
No,
but I'm saying like, if the communication is able to be there where they can co-parent, and like you can even have separate bedrooms like they used to do in like the 50s or whatever, but like the two parents should be in the household, and communication again, seeing the child, like, even though they might not love each other the same way, but we can still work together. I think it's important too.
I totally agree to a point. I mean,
Wait, hold on.
sure,
Before, hold on to that thought, because I definitely
Sure.
want to hear it, and everyone else wants to hear it. But Aaron, I want to get your input first before we dive in a little deeper, because I think this is a one that everyone really wants to, because kids are involved. This is important. It's big.
I think it honestly depends on the situation. If that person regrets what they did, and you kind of work through it. But if there's a lot of fighting going on, I don't think it's healthy for the children.
Okay. A lot of, what do you mean by fighting?
Well, if there's a lot of fighting, somebody can't get over the fact that they were just cheated on, or, they don't work through it or communicate. I think, showing your children that you're fighting all the time, I think it's damaging.
Okay. John, what were you going to say earlier?
I was going to say that I totally agree, to a point. Like, if you have two adults who have their shit together and can talk to each other and work through something like that, and they love each other enough, or at least are aware enough that they need to repair the relationship, and they can do that, that's awesome. I am not one of those people. Once the trust is gone, that's it. It's over. And I am not a nice enough person to make things work, because I can't believe anything you say now. You know what I mean? So it is highly dependent on the people. The issue is whether or not the children are negatively affected by somebody's screw up. If that's the biggest thing. My
question is, though, because you're making it sound like, oh, you get back into marriage, like you guys are perfect, like together. I'm also saying, that's what I'm saying. Like, do you think you'd be able to like side table you're like, obviously you were hurt, you're cheated on, that's not like, you know, you loved this person, had kids, you don't think you could be like, you know what's important for the kids is more important than my hurt feelings, and like, you know, we can have our two separate love lives, but in this household we're together making decisions for our children. You don't think you could do that?
I personally, I don't think that I could. I
Okay.
just am I'm a super honest person, and
Yeah.
I don't think that I'm capable of that, only because knowing that that had happened and having to be around that person that had caused that level of pain to me and broken my trust so severely, and knowing that I have to put on a nice face and make it okay for the kids, I think that in that situation, for me, I would have to remove myself from that person, just because I'm not capable of that much, you know.
Look, kids are smart. They know what's going on.
Yeah, they would I
Like-
wouldn't be able to hide it. There
Yeah.
would be no way to hide it. So I'm not capable of it.
Rondell, you were going to say something?
Yeah, I misunderstood the question because I thought you were speaking about something else. But yeah, nah. In that regards, no, honestly, like just going through it personally, you'd have to reflect on the decision that you've made leading up to the life that you're living. And I mean, you can't give back a kid. So at the end of the day, say put the kids first. And if that requires you, you know, maturing and, you know, putting things into perspective as far as seeing the end goal of what you want out of this, you know, I think if you lead with your heart and putting the kids first, then you're going to have to make the adjustments. I mean, granted, yes, everyone has their own decisions that they make and are entitled to the decisions that they make. Everyone, I can't even say make mistakes, because sometimes it's not even a mistake, but at the end of the day, you got to hold down what you've done. You got to, I guess, take accountability for what you've done. And like I said,
What do you mean?
As far as impregnating the person that has done you wrong later in life.
Well,
Okay, so now let me say this. Now, being the one that got cheated on, would you still say divorce is not an option?
Oh,
think about it that way. Think about it from both angles. Yeah, if you did the cheating, sure. But now if you were the one that got cheated on as well, will you still stand on this ground and this principle?
I mean,
I want to clarify real quick.
Hold on. Let Rondell finish.
Oh, sorry,
quick.
go ahead.
I mean, honestly, it would have to come down to what led to the cheating. I mean, if I played a role in it, you know, at the end of the day, I always got to self-reflect and see what it is that I'm doing to influence what's happening in my life. You know, I mean, it really would depend, you know, it would depend on what led to it. And I think I can't just give a straight answer.
Why you run like you know I'm coming to get you?
Oh, there we go. Children.
I'm not doing the papa game. I'm gonna
John, you were going to say something?
To clarify, I'm not saying abandon your children at all. Once you have children, that's the thing in your life that's the most important. I'm just saying that I would have to distance myself from my significant other at that point, but that's because I know that would be what would be best in the long run for my potential children, because I couldn't continue that situation and be good and nice and not have my kids be super messed up because of it.
So now let me throw a curveball at you guys. I didn't really let you guys in on this one, but I kind of thought of it as we were talking. What would you say, or how would you be acting towards the kids in this scenario? Now that if you decided to distance yourself away from your spouse, what are you now? Because the kids can see it. Kids, we all agree, kids are smart. They can understand what's happening. So now, how are you going to portray this to the kids?
Explain to them that, you know, you can't tell them flat out. You can't do that, because that just creates enemies between the parents. You know what I mean? The kids are forced to pick sides. Yeah. If they're like 16, 17, but if they're 8, you can't make them pick sides and throw that on them, because they don't even understand the concept. They understand the concept, but they don't understand the gravity. That's the issue. So you have to work it out in some way where you just explain to them that you still love each other, but you fight a lot, and it's not good for either of you or the kids. You have to think of some way to explain it in simpler terms that isn't throwing blame at either party. Because to do that, it's gonna negatively impact your relationship with your kids if you throw blame at the other party, and it's gonna negatively impact their relationship because the kid will throw that in their face next time the kid throws a temper tantrum.
I think age definitely is the most important factor in regards to that question, because you can't really tell a 2.5-year-old or going down, you know. But I mean, at the end of the day, how I treat my kids, I'm not going to allow what my partner has done to influence how I treat my child, because at the end of the day, my child is a separate being, you know, it's its own entity that I'm responsible for at the end of the day. I'm breeding to grow to be a human being in this world. So at the end of the day, man, you can't really take it personal. Because like at the end of the day, what can you really do? You still have a child. Like with that person. You know what I mean?
Aaron, you wanted to say something earlier?
Yeah, I think, well, depending on the situation, if you both agree that you're going to separate and get divorced, I think you should also agree on what you will say to your child together. And, make it where there's no blame involved, and just kind of have, a set answer.
Okay. Kristen, you want to say something else?
I mean, I think I kind of agree. Like, no blame. That's super important. Even age, I really don't think is a factor. Even if the kids are 16, your kid doesn't need to know that daddy cheated or mommy cheated. Like, I think that, saying, hey, I think it's important to tell the kids the truth. Like, hey, our relationship is changing. We're going through a thing, this is better for you because of the fighting, that, and like make it as neutral as possible. Because like, I don't care if you ask a 25-year-old if they if you want to hear that their parent cheated on their other parent. No one wants to hear that, no matter how old you are. Like, so I don't think that being very honest is important. Like, completely honest, like you got to have honesty with tact, because honesty without tact is just cruelty. So at the end of the day, full and open honesty, but tactful, that like for both sides, like for both parents and also for the children's sake too.
Okay. I like these answers. You guys are doing good. Next question. A little deeper. Sexual compatibility is a must when looking for a spouse. John?
Oh, okay.
Caught you off guard there?
Yes, I just went, so I thought.
All right, I'll give you a second.
Down.
All right.
No, I'm down.
Give you a couple seconds.
I'll just I'll wing it like I always do.
Go for it.
Yes and no. Sexual compatibility is incredibly important for the intimacy aspect, and to reintroduce feelings of love. Intimacy is incredibly important. You need to have that physical contact. It has to happen. Otherwise, you end up as roommates. You're just kind of buddies that live together, that kiss sometimes. It's true. I just came out of a relationship that ended up like that because there was incompatibility, and it is very important. At the same time, I think that concessions can be made. If sometimes there's stuff that you're not into, and you love every other aspect of that person, but you're not into that one thing that they just love to do. And at that point, you need to find some kind of common ground where you can meet halfway and work things out. Because if you're just giving constantly, or the other person's just giving constantly, resentment is going to be built up, and it's going to negatively impact the rest of the relationship.
I feel like that all comes down to communication.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
So communication. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So if John, by what you're saying, if you found someone that every aspect of them checks out, but sexually you guys really aren't that compatible, that's a no for a wife?
It depends how much leeway there is. If you guys can reach some kind of common ground where you are both satisfied, then awesome. But if you can't get to that point and there's just no way to make it work, You're better off as friends, honestly. It's just, why try something when you could have somebody that's exactly what you want? When
So,
I
so
don't think there's anyone out there that's exactly.
not exactly what you want. You know what I mean? That ticks more of
I
your
wish.
boxes. You meet somebody who's 70% of what you want, and you realize that, the other 30% is just not what you want at all, and you're not into it. You're not into getting pegged or whatever it is. And it's not going to make you happy, and it's going to negatively impact your relationship and create resentment. You kind of got to move on.
Communication.
Yeah, you kind of got to move on at that point.
Rondell, what are you thinking about all this? What do you think about not being into pegging?
That's just an extreme example, but it fits here.
But to answer your question, I think sexual compatibility is definitely important. But like with Kristen and Aaron saying, you communicate, you can like get what you want eventually. Like over time, as time goes on, things are constantly changing. Things are always gonna change. But I feel like if you communicate and you can find what it is that you're looking for to get that outcome that you want, then yeah, you'll be good. But you can. So I guess what I'm saying is you can build someone else to be sexually compatible.
Is that?
No, that's
Who is that? That's you?
Nah.
Oh, okay.
Baby?
Yes, baby.
Hi.
Is that you? Were you just
Yeah,
crying over there?
It's
of
my
the
nephew.
non-sexual compatibility? Were you crying about it?
Yes, I was. It upsets me.
Well, to answer your question, it is a must, but you can also, I do feel you can build your partner up to being what it is that you want. Because as you grow, you guys got to grow and comfortable with one another over time.
Yeah, it's all about the compromise.
Yeah, but I feel you on the whole not trying to do something that they really want to do.
Let's hear the women's point of view now. Kristen.
I'm more curious if John's talking about personal experience or not.
No, it was just an extreme example that.
Damn. What happened to you?
Yeah, that was harsh. No, it's just an extreme example that I know. Most guys are just not going to be into. You know what I mean? If or if the guy's into like serious like force play and you're just not into it, it's sorry, I'm not into it. It's not my thing. But if you can work out some kind of middle ground, where you're both satisfied, then you can get there. If there's no middle ground, then you move on.
Wow. I at first fully disagreed with you, and then now I think I kind of agree with you. Wow. I think communication is super important, and when it comes to like sex and sexual compatibility, like the first time you have sex with your partner versus like if you've been dating for 2 or 3 years, they're much better at doing whatever they like, whatever thing that gets you off. They usually are like 10 times better than the first time they tried it, because you have that constant, each other's bodies by that point. And I think that's something that can grow in general, just like through communication and just being with another person, having that intimacy. So I think other things are way more important than sexual compatibility. But I will say the part that I agree with John is that you have to have at least that little bit so that you can grow from it. So if there's zero sexual compatibility, that relationship's not going to work. You need at least a certain percentage so that you guys can grow and mesh and have that intimacy with each other and communicate what you want and need over time. So a little bit. You need a little bit of sexual compatibility. Yeah.
Okay, Aaron.
I definitely think you need sexual compatibility. It may not be the greatest in the beginning.
This is a must. A must.
Yes,
must.
Yes, it is a must. Definitely. Like I said, communication. If there's something that you don't like or that you're not willing to do, I believe that you should just tell your partner. And what else was I going to say? Sorry. But yeah, I definitely think it's a must.
Can I ask a question? So if you had a partner that like everything else was great about them, like 90% was great, but you just weren't sexually compatible at that moment, you wouldn't pursue things?
When, like, at what moment would you?
At like when you first start dating, like sexual compatibility, I feel like grows over time. Is what I
Yeah.
was saying. So like at the point where you probably are getting married, you should have some sexual compatibility, or else you're getting married way too soon, and then that's another issue.
Oh, yeah, no, I agree with that. But I
Yeah.
definitely think, you know, there definitely should be some compatibility.
When you first start dating.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so we're looking. So everyone's saying that you want to. Hold on. Let's go over it real quick. John, you're saying it's a must. You're saying it's pretty needed.
There has to be some sort of middle ground. If there's no middle ground at all, if there's nothing you can do that'll satisfy both partners, at least to some degree, it's a lost cause, because you can't work from anywhere. You know what I mean? There's nowhere to start.
Okay. Yeah. I'm understanding what you're saying a little bit. But damn, that's a Rondell, you were saying what?
No, it's definitely a must, but I feel you can build your partner up to what it is that you like. But there has to be compatibility.
Something. There has to be something.
Yes.
Okay. 10%. 10% compatibility.
2%.
2%.
1%. There's got to be just something.
Okay. That's fair. You can learn and grow from there. All right.
Yeah, I think we all pretty much agree then. 'Cause,
Yeah.
like my same thing. You need at least a little bit, and then over time,
Yeah, there we go. I think everyone, even the trolls in the comments, agrees.
Actually,
Right?
the trolls, 2 of them are my friends.
Oh, they happily said that. Trust me.
Yeah.
And more. All right. Let's get down to the final question. All right. If your spouse slept with someone else, would you want to know?
Yes.
Oh, you want to start it off? Go for it.
Of course. Yes.
You want to know?
Yeah. Why wouldn't you want to know? You wouldn't want to know?
I mean, listen, if you're in a happy marriage, they cheated once, you didn't know about it.
While you were married,
what's that?
While you were married, they cheated?
Correct.
Oh, okay.
In the marriage, they come home one day. You'd want them to tell you, "Hey, by the way, I cheated on you." You'd want to know.
I mean, I feel like that falls under communication in marriage.
Go, okay. I don't want a cop out answer. I want a real answer.
Yeah, I want to know, of course.
You want to know.
Because, I mean, obviously, there's a bunch of things that play into what caused that. And obviously, I'm probably one of the reasons. Or maybe I'm not. Who knows? I'd like to know. Yeah, for sure. Because, I mean, how married to you cheating on you, you just did that. Like, what caused that? You don't just do that. You don't just make a commitment and then break it. And if you're like, yeah, what's up? Like, we married. Right.
Aaron, what do you think?
I'm the type of person who wants to know everything, even if it's like the smallest thing. Like if you lie to me about the smallest thing, I think you'll lie about other things. So yes, I would want to know, even if it hurts me.
So even if that's just going to destroy the home, even if it's possibly going to lead to divorce, you want to know.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
Kristen?
I'm not sure. Honestly, if it's a really like I would honestly want to say I would want to know, because but it ignorance is bliss to a certain extent, but at the same time communication is one of my biggest things. Like I think that's so important for any relationship to work, and if there is any disconnect in communication, how do you expect things to continue? So no matter what, I feel like, especially with cheating and infidelity and lying and backstabbing in general, it always ends up coming out on its own if you don't tell the person. So I would love to say ignorance is bliss, and if it was one time and then the person somehow magically passed away and no one would ever find out, and dead man can't tell no tales or whatever, maybe if that was that scenario, that very 0.01% chance to happen, then that is what I would want.
But I mean, how else would you find out? How else would you find out if they don't say it, if they don't reveal it to anyone else? How else is it coming out?
It always
Yeah,
does.
Always comes out.
It always does. it, like, whether it's the small little things you start to like pick up, notice, they start again, I have a psych degree, so it's for my partner it'd be a little bit harder because they might be projecting or like sublimate or whatever, and
Yep.
so you just start to see it, and then they start to feel guilty, and it starts to weigh on them, and it weighs on their conscience. And if it doesn't, then if it doesn't weigh on their conscience, then you married a narcissist or sociopath, and then you have a whole different issue to deal with. But no, anyone who's like who cheats, you have some guilt, and if you don't have guilt, then you're not with the person, and then you have a whole nother list of issues. So no matter what, that's coming out, and yeah, you might as well tell the person. So yeah, I guess I would want to know.
Okay, so I'm gonna ask John, and then we're gonna bring on a special guest. All right, John, go for it.
It's even the apple, dude. This is stay ignorant, be happy, or understand the difference between good and evil, and die. You know,
Good and evil, huh? Okay.
Yeah, that's
strong
what
words.
it is.
Okay,
that's what it is. It's and humans are wired to always want to know. I guarantee you that you ask 100 people, and 90 of them will say, "Yeah, I'd want to know." It's in our nature to be inquisitive and to seek out knowledge. Personally, I would want to know, but if you wouldn't want to know, huge respect, because I can't. You know what I mean?
Okay. All right. So I'm going to bring on a special guest. He's not wearing his button up anymore. He chose his black hoodie. So just let you guys know that means violence. Anton Daniels. How you doing?
What's going on, fam? Can y'all hear me well?
Anton, nice to have you on. Thanks for coming on.
Yep. No problem.
All right. So
how's everybody doing?
Doing well. How are you?
Doing well.
I'm phenomenal. I am absolutely phenomenal. I came on a little bit, mic'd up real quick. Just got back in from out of town, but I thought this was an interesting conversation, and I mess with you, Clement. But I'm sure a lot of you guys probably aren't familiar with me, but I got multiple platforms where collectively they have over 150,000 subscribers. I don't know. My background is a little bit colorful, but you'll find that out as we go along. Go ahead, Clement. Do your thing, fam.
No. I actually want you to respond to the marriage question. Love is the most important thing.
It's not even a little bit. And as a person that's been married for close to 17 years, I got married when I was 22 years old, so I'm 39 now. I've had 3 brothers, no sisters. All of them has been married for longer than me. 9 uncles, and all of them has been married. Never one divorce in my family. I've never known divorce. I don't even know what that looks like, but I'm familiar with it because I coach a lot of people. So I understand that a lot of people move out of emotion. They make their decisions based off of how they feel instead of paying attention to what's best for the circumstance and the situation. And even if you evaluate marriage in a basic setting, right? Just understanding what marriage is. Marriage is a contract, right? It's a way in which you build wealth. It's a way in which you protect assets. It's protection against other things and situations that would otherwise impact people on an individual basis versus you empowering each other and also celebrating and highlighting and championing the good between both women and men. And the problem that you see in a lot of these situations is that people are leading with their emotions. That's why you see people going into situations based off of love. A lot of times we get smitten by the idea of what a person looks like. Take for example, the fact that arranged marriages are usually a lot more successful than marriages where people choose for themselves. The fact that you don't even know what you don't know, or how you are today is going to be completely different from how you are even a year from now. I'm not even the same person I was last year, let alone 10 years from now, but you're making decisions based off of how you feel now. And then you're expecting to take these vows that last for a lifetime, and you're leading with emotion versus leading with logic, principle, and making decisions based off of what is actually most conducive for your life and what it is that you're looking for long term is a recipe for disaster. It's absolutely a recipe for disaster. So if you really compartmentalize it and you say, okay, what's most important, right? Success, business, protecting assets, children, ensuring that no matter what happens, we abide by our vows. Then you start to look at the people that you're probing or you're evaluating as a partner differently. You're not leading based off of how they look. You're not leading based off of sex. You're not leading based off of, or you're not even getting divorced based off of how you feel or how it affects me. Or, ooh, I can no longer trust this person. Man up and figure it out.
Oh, come on.
Figure
Dude.
it out. Figure it out, bro. Listen, you talking to a dude that don't know divorce.
That's what I'm saying, man.
Everything that I do is based off of what's best for the circumstance and situation. When you think like that, think about it. The role of a man. Okay, all right. Now this is a really teachable moment.
Teachable moment.
The role of a man in a woman's eyes. Most women look for men that can provide and protect. History has never changed. From its inception all the way up in 2021, what looks like provision and protection has changed. But what women desire from men long-term, stability, provision, protection, somebody that can take care of their kids, somebody that can ensure that they're successful. The dynamics is different now because women have been more empowered, which means that, now they're in the workplace and all of this other type of stuff. But a woman's nature is to have the option to work. But when she's really in her femininity and she's really empowered to be the best version of herself, you're not requiring her to bring anything to the table. So the thing that you bring to the table as far as what she truly desires within, regardless of what she communicates outwardly, right? The thing that she desires within is provision and protection, security. The things that men desire from women, femininity, not being non-confrontational, beauty, all these things is different. So you have to separate the conversation by gender, first of all, because we're not the same. We never will be, no matter what society says, we're not the same, right? And so when you start to look at it in a different lens, and so we looking at it from a men's perspective, right, John?
I'm with you 100% right now.
Okay.
We're looking at it. Spoken a false word.
So when you're looking at it from a men's perspective, and you're saying, okay, what's my priority? Then you start to remove how I feel out of the situation, because the only thing that matters is the team. I'm the head of my household. I'm always, if anything ever happens, if we lose our house, if the lights get shut off, I don't care if she's working or not. People in society in general is going to look at me and say, what is going on? They're not going to go to her because she's a helpmeet. She's not the thing that we're supposed to depend on in order to ensure that we're provided and protected for, right? So when I'm really doing what I'm supposed to do, she'll follow me. She'll follow me to the end of the earth. Women are fiercely loyal when they really find a man that's doing what he's supposed to do and living in his purpose. Now, what women will settle for, and this is what you're seeing today, they're settling for the man that really isn't living in his purpose. And they're hoping that he'll one day get himself together. And this is what you see people marrying and getting together in relationships today. And so as a result, what you're seeing is the residual values, because the people that really suffer from our mistakes is our children. We don't really suffer. It's our children that suffer. So what you'll find is men that get married don't truly understand what it is to be a man. And then they come in
No. Your audio's breaking in and out a little bit.
Did I lose my connection?
Yeah, that was good. That was a good moment. All right, I got another hot question for you. All right, go for it.
Go ahead.
So
you can ask a question.
John, you want to say something?
I was going to say 100% agree with you on every point. At the same time, clearly either the man or woman has chosen wrong in a situation where infidelity occurs or acted inappropriately. They've done
So what? So why did you take the vow till death do us part, for better or for worse, in sickness and in health? Why did you take the vow if you wasn't going to believe it? If it was on condition, why didn't you add that as a part of your vows?
Because it's an agreement between both of you to be faithful to each other. And once somebody
it said nothing about being faithful. It's not one word about being faithful in those vows. As a matter of fact, marriage historically is the foundation between it's the thing that keeps wealth within the family. As a matter of fact, men historically has had more than one wife. This is a modern thing that you see in the day as far as people leading with their emotions and using infidelity as the foundation for whether or not they believe in what it is that they're doing. You can always fix that. Those things are temporary situations, and you're making a permanent decision which ultimately affects every single person around you.
Traditional wedding vows do say straight up to love and to cherish and to be faithful to you alone as long as we both shall live. That's a breaking of the contract. I understand what you're saying.
What is faithful? What is faithful?
I mean, taking it face value, and to be faithful to you alone would suggest in a loving, emotional, and physical way.
No. See, you add additional things to it. And see, that's the thing. Again, when these vows were put together, it had nothing to do with being faithful physically, because if that were the case, then men would not have had more than one wife.
Yes, but then society has changed. Society develops, and we have to adjust our understandings of things to accommodate.
Let me tell you what's changed in society. Men not having to prove their worth anymore. So everybody can be emotional. Definitely. Everybody can have a moment. Now that technology has advanced so much, it's very difficult to separate the real men from the fake men, because nobody has to do anything anymore. Right? And so it's very difficult to separate that beta male from that alpha, because women traditionally are hypergamous, which means that they go with the best option available. But all of that is muddied now. You don't get that choice anymore, because there's a large separation between what's great and what's not, because we've muddied the whole pool with people saying that you need to embrace your emotions. This is the first generation where you're starting to see a whole lot of women die alone because they've raised men by themselves, which ultimately came as a result of men leaving the household, because men were not men anymore. They didn't understand what their role was in the household. And then you had the government that was incentivizing women by saying that you don't need a man in the household because we'll make sure that you get everything you need in order to survive. So
Kristen,
now,
you had a question?
Now you're seeing men operating in their feelings instead of men operating in their purpose. And my purpose is to be a priest, provider, and protector of my household above all. And if I see a woman out there that's married, that's operating, that looks messy, that's not doing what they're supposed to do, they're a reflection of the man that they dating. And so often at times I blame the man when I see the woman that's out of control. It's your fault. If your relationship failed, if your household is not in order, and your kids is messed up, it's your fault.
That's the man.
At the same time, women aren't, women have free will. Women can just decide to do whatever they want. And because we're men, we don't necessarily understand the thought process behind what they do, because let's be honest, we have completely different chemicals going through our brains. I'm not saying you in particular, I'm saying men in general.
Ask the women on the panel. Ask the women on the panel, do they more align with my perspective or your perspective?
Ooh.
I'm not trying to do a.
No, I'm
not trying to have a pissing contest. I'm just saying that
this is not a pissing contest. I've already won. I'm rich. I'm successful. I'm married for 17 years. My life is phenomenal. I got a gajillion subscribers, and it's going up by 3,000 subscribers every day. It's nothing that, like, this is not a pissing contest. If it was a pissing contest, it would be very bad for you. So that's not what this is. This is a conversation.
I know you're better than me. I got it.
No, I don't have nothing. You brought it up. But
anyway, I'm going to interrupt. I do agree with you, Anton, and I wish. Where do I find a guy like you? Where do I go?
See what I'm saying?
Let's go.
I mean, I agree with you to a certain extent, but I think priorities have to match up, like priorities of your household, that you two as a partnership need to match up your priorities for it to work properly. But to a certain extent, yeah, I do agree with you.
John, feel free to respond.
Am I supposed to respond? No, dude, I'm 90% of what you're saying, I totally agree with. But there are instances where things happen that are completely out of your control as a man.
But life is not about what happens to you. Life is 10% of what happens to you and 90% of how you react to it. I don't care about the uncontrollables. I care about the controllables. I don't even focus on the things that happen to me. I focus 100% of my energy on the 90% that I can control. I don't care about the rest of that.
So you're saying if your wife cheated on you, that wouldn't negatively impact your relationship?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
You know what that means? You know what that means? That means that I wasn't doing what I was supposed to do as far as proactively having a conversation on what makes sense in our relationship. See, here's the key. And Clement has heard me say this plenty of times. My whole life is an open book, both on the internet and in my relationship, which means that she understands me way before I ever do anything that she would identify is outside of the realms of what she would consider good behavior in our relationship. I'm proactively solving for a situation that hasn't even been there yet, which means that I don't have to react to anything. I took care of that. I set that standard. We have conversations first. The foundation of our relationship is being best friends in spirituality first, which means that I can talk to her about anything. I don't have to hide nothing. If I want something, I say it, and then we solve for it, which means that there's nothing that I'm willing to or I'm not willing to have the conversation about because divorce isn't an option. When you go into it with it's no secondary, it's no plan B. Plan B is to finish plan A, which is to be together forever. We have a vested interest in this thing being successful, which means that what happens to me happens to you. So let's put all our marbles in this basket. Let's figure this out. Let's be successful in this marriage. And that's going to translate into everything else in our life, in our finances, in our daughter, everything.
I completely agree with you, except for the cheating issue. That's
cool.
That's, you know what I mean? Like
my daughter can't afford, because she didn't ask to be here. My daughter can't afford for me not to be in the household with her. She has an infinitely better chance of being successful as a result of me being a father and being the man that I want her to marry versus letting society raise her and letting her mother raise her alone. It's silly.
Well, I'm not saying let her mother raise her alone. I'm not saying you be an absent father. I'm saying
you're saying there is things
from her.
No, I'm not living separately
involved
from her.
or 50, like New Jersey. I live in New Jersey. New Jersey is a 50-50 state, so you get.
Have you looked at the statistics as far as divorce in New Jersey? So what are we talking about? I don't care about the law. I care about the results. And the results are saying that marriages were way more successful 50 years ago than they are today. So if you start to get to
no
understand is because people are leading messing up again. If you get to the root of the problem, instead of treating the symptom, you'll understand that people are operating out of their emotions. They can't even choose a great partner because they leading with their emotions instead of leading with logic and reason. It don't make sense. Get out of your emotion. It's okay to have emotions. It's okay to feel, but don't lead with them, right? Always understand that there's something greater than how you feel. Has nothing to do with you. Even in business, I've ran a lot of businesses. I've built restaurants. I've built web development companies. I've climbed all the way up to vice president of the C-suite in a Fortune 500 company. The first thing they teach you is that it ain't about you. It's about everybody else. It's about the shareholders. It's about the employees. It's about the families that depend on you. It's about your daughter when you're in your relationship. Nothing is about you when you become the man that you're supposed to be. Until then, stay single. Because you're not ready for a relationship. That's what they should have told you.
That was going
to stop being in a relationship if you're not prepared to be if you're not prepared to go all the way. If you're not prepared to marry her, then stop having sex with her. If you're not prepared to marry her, then stop trying to have babies. We treating the symptom instead of treating the problem. That's the truth.
No, I agree with you again on everything except, people react differently to different situations.
Some shots fired at you, Anton.
Anton, do you think a lot of cheating happens because people don't communicate in the relationship?
Well, it depends. Are you talking about in a marriage or in a relationship? Because I don't believe in relationships. I believe either you're single or you're married.
Yeah, I guess marriage. Yeah, sure.
I think a lot of infidelity happens because people just completely disconnect. Okay, so let's put it like this. Men and women cheat for different reasons. Men can cheat and not even know your name. You don't mean anything. Like, there are some guys that go too far and then they get into a whole relationship with somebody else. But in general, men cheat for ego reasons. Like, they can have a moment, they can be at the bar, get drunk, fall into something and forget her the next day and don't even, like, post-nut clarity is real. Honestly. It's real. It's a real thing. Okay. The minute it happens, don't even mean nothing. Now, women in most situations have to first be emotionally detached from the person that they're with, and then have an emotional connection in most situations in order to have an outside relationship. So when you take that into consideration, that means that something has been happening along the way that has been fostering that inside of her in order to push her over the edge. It's never just a moment and that's it most of the time. Of course, there are anomalies, right? But most times women are fiercely loyal when it comes to relationships until they get disconnected. So it's something else in there that's the problem when it comes to women.
That makes sense.
I'm wondering if the psychologists agree with me.
Oh, 100%.
That's what I was exactly about to ask.
I mean, I think to a certain extent, like to generalize based on, I mean, men or women are obviously different biologically, but I think that some generalizations. I have seen a woman have a one-night stand and whatnot, and also I've seen a man who has cried and been like, oh, like I'm in love with two women, which very, very like really happens. I think on a generalization thing, yes, you I think you are correct. That
those are called betas.
All right, so we'll put you in the hot seat a little bit, Anton. All right, because we had this last question. If your spouse slept with someone else, would you want to know?
Yeah, because I need to solve for it. I can't solve for a problem that I'm. See, here's the biggest thing that I always tell my chick, which my chick has never cheated, to my knowledge. I'm like 99.9% sure she's never cheated, though, right? Of course, you can't. You got to put in that 1%, that 0.001%, right?
That Lysol number.
The thing that I've always told my chick, right, and I call her my chick because it puts me in a mindset that I'm still dating. I don't say my wife. I say, yo, that's my girlfriend. That's my chick. Because I'm always putting my best foot forward. When you focused, I'm in the gym. You know what I'm saying? I'm very, very intentional when it comes to paying attention to her. I talk to her. We have conversations, the whole 9 yards, right? So I just want to add that caveat because a lot of people get bothered by that. But I always tell her, I can't protect you from what I don't know. I don't even know if you're in the right space. I got to make sure, like, protection extends beyond just physical. It's mental. Right? She can't be the mother to my child that she needs to be if she's not protected mentally, right? So my point then becomes, it's like, yo, we best friends first. I need to have your best interest at heart. You have to have my best interest. The most successful people in relationships and in life, they understand that this is more than just how we feel about each other at this specific time. You may be having a moment. Who knows? But the point is that I need to know so that I can solve for why we are in the space that we're in. Because again, divorce is not an option, and we're here for life. So don't think you're protecting me from myself, because you're not even in the best space that you need to be, and we need to solve this and work it out. Whatever it is, I don't know if we need to go to therapy. You know, I'm just throwing random stuff out there, but yeah, you have to know. We have to be transparent. We got to be best friends first. We have to be rooted in spirituality, and so we need to solve for whatever the problem is, so that we can ensure that we're going to be successful long term.
Anton, can I ask you to answer a quick question? This one.
That's a beta right there. It's a beta because he's operating. He's so concerned with the tone or the wording of what I'm saying instead of gleaning the message that comes along with it. For me, I'm all results based. I don't care about who say it. I don't care how they say it to me. The only thing I care about is it adding value to my life, and can I use it to level up to be the best version of myself? I don't care about the message. I don't care about the messenger. As a matter of fact, the best advice that's ever happened to me was my brother, and he went off on me and he called me stupid, dumb, with the whole 9 yards. And he said, "You ain't gonna do," this was early in my life, and he went off on me, and it snapped, and it made me want to be a better version because he held me accountable. I think that men need to be dealt with differently and not with kid gloves. They need to be told the truth. They need to be around other men that's going to hold them accountable. And it don't matter about how they say it. The only thing that matters is whether or not it's the truth. And anybody that's in their emotions as a result of how somebody talked to them and they not really thinking about what the message was, that's a beta all day.
Any more questions for Anton, guys?
If there are beta men, are there beta women?
No, there's no such thing as a beta woman. There's no such thing as an alpha woman.
Well, is there, if there are men who are not strong and confident and able to provide and stuff, are the not feminine women, the women who are the opposite of what you think a woman should be, is there a different name for that?
No,
are there women
I think
like that?
I think that what you're seeing is a form of survival. So, for example, if a guy leaves the household, right, what do you expect her to just roll over and die? You know what I'm saying? She had to level up. She had to take care of business. She had to put herself in a position of power. So she adapted. I don't think that has anything to do with her inherent nature to just be a feminine person, right? Like long ago, we celebrated and we say that women should have the power to be whatever it is that they want to be. But somewhere along the line, people are saying that it's negative to be looked at as a housewife now. When did that become a problem? When did it become an issue for a woman for that to be considered a full-time job as a woman raising her family and taking care of the household while the man goes out and do what he needs to do to survive or to provide? So I don't think that inherently women are alpha or beta. I don't think that women are alpha. And so as a result, I don't think that women are beta because in order to have one, you got to have the other. I think that that's a term that's generally reserved for men.
There is definitely a hierarchy there is definitely a hierarchy in regards to women, though. A social hierarchy.
And what? Explain.
Well, you've got those women who, okay. So, for example, you've got women who a man will leave and they'll, instead of, going out and providing, look to the state. And that's sometimes situational based, but it's also sometimes mentally. You've got women who, in a group of women, one woman will take control of the situation and will decide on a plan of action. And yes, that's just a woman living in her masculine.
Give me a real situation. Give me a real hypothetical situation that this would apply to.
Okay, I'll give you an example. My aunt.
Are you laying down?
What's that?
Were you laying down? Nowhere. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry.
I thought you just got up, but go ahead.
Oh yeah, I was. I'm kind of flipping around on my bed. So sorry. Hey, gotta get comfortable, man.
Do your thing, bro. So your aunt.
No, for example, my aunt. My mom was out of it for a couple of years when I was a kid, and my aunt stepped up and, in a situation where my dad was not present, got herself 2 jobs at 17 and provided for us.
That's called survival. Again.
Exactly. But, if there's...
It has nothing to do with being alpha or beta.
You don't think that there's a hierarchy in terms of women at all?
No.
No?
I think that women usually react to the circumstances that they're placed in, but men in general usually separate themselves based off of work ethic, desire, and a mentality to win at all costs.
All right.
Of course, you're going to have an anomaly here and there,
Mm-hmm.
but in its essence, most women would prefer to not be forced to be in the same positions that men are in.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So how can it be a hierarchy?
I mean, there's definitely a social hierarchy with women. There's definitely an achievement hierarchy. Some women, have drive and have specific life goals that they're not willing to compromise on, similar to most men.
They've
And
even settled for that. They've settled for that.
how do you mean?
Kristen, you
They've
look like
settled for
you're.
that.
Oh, wait, they settled for wanting
Yeah,
ambitions?
Well, think about it. Because everything that we do is a learned behavior, which means that somewhere along the way, somebody taught you that you need to be in a position to be able to take care of yourself just in case. They didn't say the just in case part, but in essence, most women would prefer to be in a position to where they're not required to go to work. And so what you found is that this is a more recent thing in society in general, where women are becoming the most enrolled, not necessarily the most educated, but the most enrolled in college, right? They're having the most debt. They are moving in a way in which they are protecting themselves. It's almost like an insurance policy, like subconsciously. It's an insurance policy to where I'm going to have a career. But if you ask any woman whether or not they want to be dependent on in order for their household to be successful financially, they'll tell you no.
I agree.
That I like know that they don't want to like who they depend on.
So no, okay. So, is it Kristen? Kristen, okay.
Kristen, yeah.
You and I get married, right? How much of the household responsibilities financially do you want to be responsible for in order to ensure that our household is successful? Do you want to have to be? Not do you want to contribute? Do you want to? So if you don't contribute this, then we have to live substandard or we lose out. How much of that percentage do you want to be responsible for?
The only thing I would say matters if we're having a family or not. If I'm unable to provide kids or we're unable to have kids, I would want
we got 2 kids.
to use.
You and I got 2 kids.
Yeah, no, I don't. I want to take care of the kids, but that's my own personal thing. Not all women are like that. But
So
yes.
how does that? How is it different? Okay, so me and Kristen, we're married. We got 2 kids.
Mm-hmm.
How much responsibility financially does Kristen want to have to contribute in order for us to have a successful household? Because I will tell you right now that my wife hasn't worked in the last 14 years. Not because she can't work, but it's because she's not required to work. And she understands that her value is greater in the participation and the growth of our child. Now that our child is getting older, she's saying, okay, I've always had a desire. Am I breaking up?
Sort of.
Video, not your
Am
sound.
I breaking up?
Keep going.
But now that my child is a little bit older, what's happening is she's saying, okay, I've always wanted to be a nurse and I've always wanted to help people. That's always been my desire. So I pay for her to go to school in order for her to be a nurse, right? But the point is that we're not dependent on her in order for the household to be successful. Ultimately, when she had the decision to say, hey, whether or not I want to work or not and contribute to the household finances, or I find my value to be more closely aligned with the other things that I can do that had nothing to do with money, she chose that thing. Most women aren't in a position to where you can have 2 adults and 2 children in a household and be fully provided by a man's salary in 2021. So now what you've seen is an adaptation of society moving based off of those circumstances. And then people are throwing all of the mud in there and saying, well, society is different. No, people are inherently the same. And that's why when you see people that have resources, most of the time, the woman choose to be a stay-at-home mom. Most of the time, obviously not all the time, but they choose to be a stay-at-home mom because they find greater value that's living in their inherent instincts to be a feminine person versus having to go out there and compete with people like me that don't sleep till 4 a.m.
I witnessed that.
Am I off, Kristen? Tell me I'm off.
So essentially you're saying...
I can't. I wish I could, honestly. But I can't speak for all women. I know my values. Like, yeah, I mean, I would love to work, but obviously, if I have kids, my kids will be my most important thing to me. A job later on in life, yeah, probably. But at first, until like they're in middle school, where they walk themselves to and from like school by themselves, yeah, no, I want to be there for them. So, yeah, I can't.
Interesting.
I mean, I agree too. I mean, I'm a successful independent woman, and I still want a man who is head of household. And if I want the option to stay home with my children, I want to have that option. And I think at this point in my life, I would want to stay home and raise my children, and then eventually
I've never met you ladies a day in my life, but for some reason, that whole thing closely aligns with your principles and your values and how you see yourself in an ideal circumstance or situation. That's really weird to me. I don't know.
Honestly, I think that's one of the reasons why I'm single, because there are a lot of men out there that, like you said before, they don't know those responsibilities. They don't want to take on those responsibilities. And it's very hard these days to find a man like that.
John, am I off?
Oh no, dude, you're totally right.
Okay.
I'm going to be 38 in a few weeks. Like, I'm still single. I want to have children, and I feel like I'm on a timeline, but I'm not willing to settle.
So you want, again, hypergamous, you want the best option available, and you are not willing to settle beyond a certain threshold.
Exactly.
I love you ladies because you guys are honest.
So where do we find these men? Clearly not.
That's a whole nother episode. You're gonna have to subscribe. You're gonna have to subscribe to my channel in order to get that information.
All right.
Yeah, Anton, I got a question. So if you were to, have a child before getting married, you realize.
Never. I would never do it.
I know you never did it because I know you were married since you were 22, but I'm saying if you were to get a child before having a kid in wedlock, you as a man, you're saying should just man up, marry the woman, and
absolutely. How is she good enough to have a child with, but she's not good enough to marry?
Good point.
I don't understand it. Think about it. The greatest thing that a woman can give a man is children. That is the greatest thing that a woman can give a man is children. So you're telling me that I should be unwilling, just because the laws of society has enabled me not to, unwilling to do the thing that's not only in the best interest of our relationship or her, but also for my child, who I say I love very much, who I say is the top priority in society, but I choose not to empower that child to be successful because I'm in my feelings and I'm going based off of how I feel at the time. You telling me that makes sense? Interesting.
Rondell?
No, I'm saying fair enough. At the end of the day, I'm always going to absorb whatever's thrown at me and try and, comprehend and process it within myself and go from that. But that makes a lot of sense. At the end of the day, if a man is thinking with his emotions, that would lead to unplanned children. So
I'm telling you, listen, the quickest path to success for men is to get out of how they feel and stop letting that dictate how they lead. That is the quickest path to success for men, because then it's not about you. It's about all the other things that's meaningful, the legacy that you're going to leave. It was a time in society where people were more concerned with the legacy that they left, and they were willing to make the sacrifices for the generation that comes after them, right? It was a time when that meant something. It wasn't about you. It wasn't about how you felt. It wasn't about whether or not you are comfortable or happy or what she's doing or anything like that. It was a time in society, a bygone era, so to speak, because there's very few of people like me that think like me left. It was a time where men value, and the greatest thing that they can leave on this earth was their legacy. They wanted their name to be remembered by the things that they did, not moving based off of temporary feelings and solutions. It's a dead era though, man. But that's because men are no longer subjecting themselves and being held accountable by other men. It's silly. Move with purpose, move with intention, stop having sex unprotected, stop busting her down and then not having a responsibility that go along with it. Stop looking at chicks as baby mamas, and man up. Be the man that you're supposed to be, and think about it. Be the woman that you would want your your daughter to become and be the man that you would want your daughter to marry. When you put that first, you'll start making better decisions on a daily basis and stop living based off of how you feel. That's the truth.
I had to drop that in there. Guys, any more questions? This man's a wealth of knowledge. Ask it away.
All right, get it now. Listen. Let her get it now.
Okay, I do have a question.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
I do have a question. So I normally go to bars sometimes, and like I feel like that sometimes it scares men because I'm normally a very bubbly, happy personality, and sometimes that comes off as ditzy. And then when a man has a conversation with me and then realizes I'm intelligent, sometimes it actually scares them off quite a few times, and I'm curious. And is that something I should keep to myself? That I know, because like I want to be able to have philosophical conversations about just how things are today, and I want someone to like go back and forth with me. I think that's important. I want to be mentally stimulated by a person or a partner, and so I don't know. I feel like that's now a negative thing to like that men look at women for.
Those are insecure men. That's all that is. Those are men who are pussies. Like let's be honest.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, but think about it. Do you want to push a man into liking you for the wrong reasons, or do you want to align yourself? Because listen, you only got to get it right once.
That's true.
You only got to find one person. You know what I'm saying? And so the idea is just that when your natural bubbly self, and then you express a level of intelligence, especially in conversation, and somebody doesn't align with you, all you're doing is filtering out the person that you don't want to be with.
Yep.
You don't want to spend time with people that's not going to actually add value to your life. Time is the most precious thing that you have. You'll never get a moment of it back. So don't spend it worrying about the people that is not supposed to be in your life. You want to filter those people out, and you want to align yourself with the people that actually can add value into your life.
Not only that, but any man that's afraid of an intelligent woman, what does he want? You want the best partner that you can get. You want the smartest, most intelligent, most capable person on your side. So any man who's afraid of that situation of the woman being smarter than him is clearly not an intelligent dude.
I don't want no. I don't want to be smarter than my man. I want equal. I want us to be able to have. I don't want
even then. If he doesn't want a partner who's at least as intelligent as he is, what does he want? He's not looking out for the best for him, which means he won't look out for the best for you.
Let me ask you this though: how is that intelligence coming across?
Well, I don't want to just talk about the superficial stuff. It seems like, I mean, I haven't really been like single for that long, but like, I just normally when I get hit on and then like, something will be on, someone will bring up a conversation, and even if it's about nerdy stuff or just like in general, and I have some knowledge, I'm like, oh yeah, and did you hear about that? Or there's this interesting fact about this, and then it's like, I didn't expect you to like. It's kind of seemed like the man kind of wanted to look good, I also know this isn't that cool, and it's like, well, he kind of wanted to show off to a certain extent, and it's like, because I know
where are you meeting these guys at? That's the real question.
I mean, like, I'm not like super. It's something I notice at bars. It's not just when I go to bars. It's not like I'm trying to find the man of my dreams there. It's also like I'm not really looking at the moment. I'm just like,
wait a minute. You do know why we at the bar, right?
I'm going to the bar with my friends, for my friends and stuff like that. I'm not really looking for a man. The right person will find me, and I will that'll be fine.
I don't believe that, Kristen.
I just know. It's just something I've noticed that I was confused by. You don't believe the right person will find me?
No, I believe that. I don't believe that you're at the bar because you don't care Like, I believe that you understand why you're at the bar. You should be honest with yourself about that. And then also you need to understand why men are at the bar so that they can pick you up, take you home, and bust you down.
You're
Well, that's
you're
not gonna
seeking.
happen.
You're seeking, but
Well,
you're
then
you're
here's
not
the
being
thing.
honest
Your
about the intention.
expectations are off about what type of conversations you're expecting from men at the bar. If you want to meet a man that more closely aligns with your intelligence, you're not going to find them at the local watering hole. I'm just being real with you.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
So where do we find them? I'm still asking.
I told you. It's a whole nother episode. That's a whole nother episode.
Listen.
Okay. So let me ask you a question. I'm gonna answer your question with a question. I don't like to do that, but I'm gonna answer your question. Why don't y'all talk to y'all best friends? Why do y'all have a friend zone?
Ooh.
What do you mean?
Yeah, I don't understand that question.
Why do you guys put guys that you don't necessarily feel like you may be sexually compatible with into what we call a friend zone? It's the guy that I like, but
I think men put themselves in the friend zone.
No. It's no such thing as a man putting himself in the friend zone. That is a lie.
There's totally plenty of men who got upset because they were in the friend zone, who never in a day asked me out and then sat there and whined, and I later found out about it.
Mm-hmm.
Had every chance to ask me out, but never did.
There's no such thing as a real friendship between a man and a woman.
I agree with
that. Ultimately, men want things from women, regardless of whether or not you want to agree with it or not. They're there because they're in the friend zone involuntarily. They're there because you put them there, not because that's where they want to be.
Yep.
Then why don't they have the cojones to ask me out?
That's a whole nother conversation. But my point, the question still remains: why don't you date your friends?
But I mean, actually, any relationship I have been in was my friend first. I've not gotten in a relationship with anyone I didn't know first. They were my friend first.
Aaron? But wait. But have those relationships been more fruitful than the ones that you possibly can meet out at a bar?
I've never actually given a number. Like I said, I've never actually gone out with someone who I didn't know first, who wasn't my friend first. It's never worked. I've tried, but I've never felt comfortable enough, I don't know.
Kristen, how old are you, if you don't mind me asking?
How old do you think I am?
Nope, I'm not doing it. How old are you?
I'm 29.
Okay. You need to be coached, honestly.
Okay.
Listen. Don't let your pride stand in the way. You honestly need to be coached because you are a pretty girl and you can be really successful in a relationship, but you're approaching it all wrong. That's the honest to God truth.
But why do you think that?
That Kristen needs to be coached?
Yeah.
You really want to have this conversation right here? You want me to do a deep dive on Kristen real quick?
I don't
know if y'all really ready. Clement could tell them. I don't think that y'all ready for that conversation.
Listen, it sounds like she's okay with it, Anton.
I'm okay with it.
Oh gosh, I didn't want to do this to y'all. I don't even know if y'all came.
You got the black hoodie on. You got the black hoodie on.
You chose violence. You chose
violence tonight.
I can be very
direct.
Yeah, I'm really blunt, and I'm being nice for Clement's podcast, but
I don't need nice.
I'm still new. I can make a new one. It's all right. I'll go out in the blaze of glory. It's okay. It's okay.
Well, listen. How about we do this? I don't know what your lineup is for next week, Clement, but I tell you what. If you come on next week, I'll make it really entertaining for you.
I like that. This was part 1, so let's do a part 2.
Aaron, you down? Kristen, you down?
I'm down for you to answer my question.
John, you ready?
I'm down, man.
Rondell, what's up?
I'm pretty sure I know what you're gonna say.
You sure about that? I don't think you know.
I have a general idea. It's a perception issue.
You haven't seen. You see him in the audience saying Anton be nice. They saying Anton be nice because they watched me in action before. So.
That's my guy Stanley right there.
Listen. I'm gonna force you to look in the mirror. I'm gonna force you to be honest with yourself.
We
gonna pull them skeletons out the closet. We're gonna talk about body count. You ready to have that conversation?
You want me?
Yeah,
I'm
you.
fine. I'm fine.
Okay. All right. Till next week. Make sure y'all tune in. I'm gonna come in and we're gonna have a conversation.
Anton, I appreciate you. I appreciate everything you do. Thank you for stopping by.
Thank you guys for having me. I love you guys. I'm gonna go ahead and dip off because I got some other stuff that I got to take care of. But I love talking to y'all. John, you was a good sport.
Hey,
Kristen, I can't wait to talk to you next week. It's gonna be so fun. I'll see y'all.
Have a good one, man.
Guys, I know we went a tiny bit over an hour, but I really enjoyed all of you guys coming on here. I really hope you guys got a lot of information out of what we did here. I think it's very fun. I think we have conversations like this because a lot of people gain from it. There's some things that a lot of us don't really think about in our general day-to-day life or even our dating life. And once we start having a lot more of these conversations, we can actually know how to navigate our dating life to get the best results that we want. That's my whole point of this channel. I want to start having these conversations a little bit more. I could, hopefully bring guys like, Stanley, E-Black, Lowell, those guys, and a lot of them, they move in the same kind of mindset as in they're trying to get their best kind of result in their life. And that's what we're here to do. So thank you guys for being here. You have any closing statements? Oh, of course. Plug your Instagram or, Facebook or anything like that. Kristen, you want to go?
Miss Chris.
Gamer tag.
Pretty much for everything.
All right. Send it to me. I'm going to put it all inside of the description. Aaron?
What do you want to know?
Any kind of tags you have. Your Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, TikTok.
I don't really go on social media that much, but I do have Instagram. I'll let you know what I mean. I don't even know.
There we go. Send it to me. I'll drop it in the description. Rondell?
Okay.
Yeah, DC Motor Great. Y'all can follow me on IG, Twitter, DC the Great. Same thing.
John? Thank you, man. Thank you for being here.
I am also uncool and do not participate in the social media craze. So,
and on that note,
I do appreciate you having us on, man.
Yes,
good times.
Of course. Listen, I hope you guys had a good time. I hope you guys got some information out of this. I really hope I added a little bit more knowledge or introspect into your life and thought process. And next week we have fun. All right. Good. And on the last note, actually, on the last video that we're going to end on, Rondell's song, actually. This is Rondell's personal song that he made himself. And that's how we're going to close it out, guys. Thanks again for being here.
They know they shouldn't have let me start speaking my mind in the booth. Start speaking the truth. Might get shot for it, but MLK did too.
Look to the sky, ask God why innocent lives have to die. One thing I know, a flower will grow once you plant the seed inside your soul.
Now we could paint the perfect picture without belittling each other. Cause under God's system we really one another's brother. And the system set up just to make one another struggle. Work it out like we gaining muscle. I done seen Flint, Michigan in the inner cities. They pissing in project buildings that got a roof that leaks, resulting in missing ceilings. Hard to sleep. Children going to schools dealing issues deep. Teacher got the nerve to ask what's the feeling. He got up and started lashing out. See, it's a start. Physical display and mental destruction. Yeah, now that's the art. Politician, government instructing you to do your part. It ain't hard to see they trying to keep black in the back, just like Rosa Parks. Cops shooting blacks as if they get a token from God. School rob you would need a resource, but you finance like cars. Too many of us worrying about what we be spending at bars, while queens are done playing themselves through the subconscious mirage. And here I was a young boy just praying to get a menage with two of the baddest Nickies, hoping they shift my stick like some cars. And when you're lonely in your darkest thoughts come, I know it's hard, but God shines his light on all I play their part, and it's the start.
Look to the sky, ask God why innocent lives have to die. One thing I know, a flower will grow once you plant the seed inside your soul.
See, I'm a poet and the best part of me shows chosen. Here to speak the message, what is known, but not what it takes, expose it. Listen closer as I take you on a mental path. See divisions, the math, hoping we clash on lower levels, just like in the past. Before we begin to see spared lives, keep in mind the first 3 letters of unity starts with you and I. And maybe then we can all thrive, changing the narratives of our lives, finding belief from inside. We gotta come together, different feathers, and we fly together despite any weather, evolving up forward just like propellers, using negatives to fuel positives. How we change the mark, just like taking the devil's flames just to warm the coldest heart. Mama knew it from the start, DC mode would be a spark to lead the light that works its way out, illuminate through the dark. Funny cause my skin is dark, despite the stereotypes exemplify brilliance, cause I found that genius within my mind. You see words create worlds when you use the term tear. Your mind takes what it sees and mimics that just like a mirror. So if we change the way we speak, conscious the energy we give, we'll have a world full of positive word of jigger. Can I live?
To the sky, ask God why.